he immediately lifted her up higher and higher over the 17th floor balcony, with Combs's grip keeping her from falling to her death.
Dee Woods claims she saw what she says were inappropriate communications from Diddy to Aubrey prior to their firing.
1. After it was made public that Diddy has been experiencing meltdowns in prison, he recently called for assistance. Does this indicate that he may soon get out? Let's look at the evidence.
Refusing meals. I don't know if it's all of them, but he's refusing some of them, and he's been reportedly looking a lot thinner. Why would that be?
Maybe he doesn't like the cuisine, or maybe now that he's actually in a dormitory unit, he's not living in his cell. Well, he's living in the cell, but he's not in there all day long. Now he can buy items at the commissary, and because of that, he may be making his own food. He probably has access to a microwave oven, or maybe like boiling hot water, and they make burritos and different things. There are sentence inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white-collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem, why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, dealers, rapists with white-collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit, because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out, they'll just kill the guy, no questions asked.
You think that they'd suck up to him because he's got a lot of money, and if he ever does get the commissary options, he would be able to help them.
Some people do. Because
I gotta wrap it real quick.
Okay, some people do think that Diddy can help him, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week, 6 marshals to do it. He's out of luck.
People was trying to talk to him. People was trying to tell him. You couldn't pull him by the coat and let him know anything. You understand? They messed up the game, brother. When he put that shit out with them, money, power, respect, it ain't never been like that. It ain't never been like that. You got your respect in the street that gave you your power, that brought you your money. Totally different thing. He let that money, power, and respect go to his head, but he had it backwards. So do I care what happened? Nah. He got enough money to buy his way out of this. So we think.
So when you look at that video of him pacing around and he's looking worried, and you knowing him, do you think it's possible that he might commit suicide?
When you're a narcissist, there's always a possibility because you're suffering. But I don't think that he can see himself in a cage. I don't think he can see himself behind those bars.
Since his arrest in December of last year, Diddy's attorneys made their third attempt to have him released on bail, requesting that the court allow him to remain under house arrest. Initially, Diddy's defense team wanted him to remain under house arrest at his Star Island mansion in Miami, which was one of the locations where the federal government raided in March, but Judge Aaron Superin swiftly put an end to that plan. Down.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is facing more scrutiny. Federal prosecutors have accused Combs of witness tampering from behind bars. He's in jail. The prosecution filed another motion on Friday urging the judge to not grant bail to the hip-hop star. They say he deployed a, quote, relentless effort to contact potential witnesses, including victims of his abuse, who could provide powerful testimony against him. He's doing that again from behind bars.
Diddy's attorney, Mark Neo, stated that there was no possibility that Diddy would be violent if he were released, calling the proposed bail conditions extremely strict. He even argued that the conditions were more stringent than those at the MDC jail. However, the judge was unconvinced, and according to the Daily Mail, Diddy had a breakdown at that point, saying that spending the holidays in jail was like a nightmare for him. This source claimed that Diddy had a breakdown in his cell and pleaded with the guards to take him to the hospital, but they refused. Diddy eventually calmed himself using meditation techniques he had been practicing while incarcerated. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and concentration to get out of the bad mental state he was in, but he managed to do so in the end, which would explain why he wasn't eating in prison.
Doesn't want to eat the prison food, I suppose, because he's scared somebody's going to put something in it. I've said this before. That's the way to get to this guy. Poison his food, turn him off like a light switch, and he can't testify against anyone.
That's so distressing to think that someone has to worry about their food being poisoned because of the kind of case they're in. But ever since Jeffrey Epstein, everybody has every theory left, right, and center. What about the goodie bags? I talked to two guys earlier in the show who said they never got anything when they were in lockup. Okay. But you've had that. You've gotten stuff in lockup.
I was in 11 different federal prisons. A couple of them were contract facilities, but they were still federal institutions. Every BOP facility I was ever at, we got a holiday bag. It's like a big plastic bag loaded with this garbage in it. Like 2 days before
hold
Christmas.
It up higher. Wait, hold it up a little bit higher because we've got a banner on the bottom of the screen. I want everyone to see it. What's that?
This is pretzels. This is
like I said,
like peanut butter crackers. Here we got some cookies. I mean, there's all kinds of garbage. And the BOP plays a game with this. You know, they have a trust fund that they take money away from the inmates, or they make a profit on for selling commissary throughout the year. They act like they give you this gift bag, which is complete BS. That money that the gift bag is supplied, it comes from the trust fund. So the inmates are essentially paying for their own gift.
This is not the first time Diddy's mental health has been a concern. When he first arrived at the jail, he was placed on Sued Watch, which is defined by the U.S. Department of Justice's National Institute of Corrections as a situation in which an inmate needs to be closely monitored because there is a risk that they may harm themselves. Diddy's time on Sued Watch was brief, though, and he was then transferred to a special protective unit for a few weeks. Currently, Diddy is in the general population, where the majority of the inmates reside, and that is where this holiday meltdown is said to have occurred. However, many are speculating that this could be Diddy's new strategy to sway public opinion in his favor after prosecutors recently.
News now, prosecutors have detailed new allegations against Sean Diddy Combs, and among these new charges, prosecutors say Combs led a criminal organization that they call the Combs Enterprise. Members are accused of sex trafficking and traveling across state lines to engage in prostitution, arson, robbery, and obstruction of justice. Combs is being held at a federal jail in Brooklyn as of late, and he's already pleaded not guilty to charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation in prostitution.
Diddy's attorney Mark Agian said that although a revised indictment was filed in Manhattan federal court, it does not actually include any new accusations against Diddy. After being arrested in September, Diddy entered a not guilty plea to the sex trafficking charges. He is currently incarcerated without bail pending his trial on May 5th, and the outcome is becoming increasingly certain as more people come forward to criticize him, most recently his former assistant.
I absolutely witnessed violence. Yes, there was one particular night that he came up to me and gave me a long list of items that he wanted. Baby oil and Astroglide were very important. Things were getting a little heated. They were being very argumentative. He cursed at her. I told you I was crazy. Kicked her. She fell to the ground. Kicked her again.
Hines also claiming he was tasked with buying supplies for Diddy's so-called Wild King Nights.
We usually had a laundry list of items that included lights, alcohol, marijuana, ketamine, Molly.
Was the code to the safe 1234?
Prosecutors added more time to the alleged racketeering conspiracy in the updated indictment. Originally, they claimed it began in 2008, but now they say it may have begun as early as 2004 and continued until 2024. They also mention at least 3 women who were involved in this case, but they listed them as victims 1, 2, and 3 rather than using their true names.
Now saying this is about Combs and Combs' sexual activity and Combs' sexual activity with male commercial sex workers, it seems to me, at least in my opinion, to be prosecutors making sure this is about Sean Combs being present and an active participant of these sex acts. It's not just sex acts with sex workers, but Combs is there and he is participating. And potentially that you will have witnesses who will say, I was there with Combs. And remember, this is a criminal case about Combs. So tying him as directly to these alleged criminal events and his participation, that seems to be key. Next up, the superseding indictment moves 2 lines up from where they were in the original complaint. So when discussing the description of how since 2009 Combs allegedly assaulted women by striking, punching, dragging, kicking, and throwing objects at them, this indictment now adds right after the lines, Combs' violence was also not limited to these women. It extended to his employees, witnesses to his and others. That line was actually later on in the complaint, so they moved it up. Not exactly sure why they did that, because almost everything else from that paragraph seems the same. Maybe they just wanted to make it a little bit clearer and make that connection, because there's another part of this paragraph that's very important. In this paragraph, it also includes the description of that infamous 2016 incident where Cassandra Ventura, this was Combs' ex-girlfriend, who, by the way, we believe is victim 1 in this case. She was the one who initially filed that lawsuit against him in November of 2023, got the whole ball rolling.
The indictment states that Diddy forced these women, including the 3 victims listed, to engage in sex work by using threats of violence and other forms of coercion. Prosecutors say Diddy used his fame and power as a well-known musician to intimidate, threaten, and control these women, making them feel as though they had to be around him constantly.
But I want to go back to something else, big picture here. 2004, why the change? Why go back to 2004 from 2008? Well, if you ask me, more victims are now a part of this case and will testify. And when you think about who that might be, let me just say a disclaimer, we don't know. We do not know for sure, but what we do know is that Combs has faced a multitude of civil lawsuits that have alleged sexual assault from before 2008. And he has faced lawsuits after he was ultimately indicted. And I will tell you what, when I think about that date, there's one person who has sued Sean Combs and claims that she was groomed into sex trafficking through a number of events that started in 2004. That's Adria English. Remember her? We've talked about her on Sidebar before. So she sued Combs, and her complaint reads, if she is now a part of this criminal case. So that's where my mind went, okay? I thought about the time frame. I thought about her civil lawsuit. It's not outside the realm of possibility. So again, we don't know for sure if she's an alleged victim or a key witness in this case, the same way we don't know for sure if Cassandra Ventura is either. But, you know, we're looking between the lines. Oh, and by the way, let me just add this. Generally speaking, several lawsuits have alleged illegal conduct committed by Combs between 2004 and 2008.
He allegedly hanged one victim over a balcony, which was one particularly startling incident.
Hold on. Hey, y'all, let's give it up for y'all. Ain't no crime going on. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no crime going on at all.
Talk about balling and just this and that. I think you watch Rolly Race.
Yeah, it ain't no watch.
No. This is how we smoke.
Check your man out. Check your man out.
Yeah, this is let me do this thing.
Yeah, I'm letting
the
do this
whole
thing.
crew smokes, you know?
Everybody
and check
smokes.
it. This is what I got for him.
Although no other details on the balcony event were provided, we can link it to a previous case that was brought against him.
And Combs allegedly barged into the apartment while Bongolan was on the apartment's balcony. She claims Combs grabbed her and groped her breast as she tried to fight him off and yelled at him to leave her alone. Combs then allegedly grabbed her by the armpits and lifted her up on the banister of the 17th floor balcony and repeatedly yelled, "Do you know what the F you did? Do you know what the F you did?" She says she struggled to get back on the ground and claimed she was overpowered by Combs as she only stood about 5 feet tall, weighing less than 100 pounds. According to the suit, he immediately lifted her up higher and higher over the 17th floor balcony, with Combs' grip keeping her from falling to her death. She says Cassie, who was locked in her bedroom, ran out onto the balcony and screamed at Combs to stop, and told him Bongolan's girlfriend was also in the apartment and could overhear what was happening. The lawsuit claims that because Combs recognized that there were so many witnesses to the assault, he pulled Bongolan back over the balcony. But he didn't release her. Bongolan says in a last fit of violence, the mogul slammed her onto the balcony's patio furniture, including a table. According to the suit, Bongolan's attorney says while as Combs sits in a federal detention center in Brooklyn, New York, he denies Bongolan's allegations. According to his
Dee Woods, a member of the girl group Danity Kane, also spoke out. She said that her bandmate, Aubrey O'Day,
Another vocal member of the female duo Danity Kane, Dee Woods, claimed that her bandmate Oreo Day had informed her that Diddy had sent her offensive pictures, some of which were really sexual. Multiple sources have stated that Diddy fired Aubrey in part because she refused to comply with his sexual advances.
Picking and prodding and just a way to chip and knock away, but then praise you.
I see myself standing in those dark, scary, predatory spaces and hearing somebody say some of the most degrading things to me.
How was it predatory? Somebody constantly treating you like a piece of meat. Only valuing you for your sex appeal. And in some of the environments, you know, it was even scary to be by yourself.
Based on a lot of things that I've heard, you're not really a happy camper in this situation.
No, I don't think anyone has been happy for a long time in this situation.
Okay, so you can go too.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive about that.
In the docuseries, Dee Woods claims she saw what she says were inappropriate communications from Diddy to Aubrey prior to their firing.
Was there anyone you could have talked to about it?
Absolutely not. Each other.
There was no one to tell.
Because what were they gonna do? So it's like, how do we survive this?
Some artists that didn't say anything, that didn't sign it, and they able to talk about anything they want to. And I think that's those girls that was, I think Danity Kane. I think a couple of them didn't sign it. And boy, oh boy, they probably gonna go after him too. Cause I heard him, and I'm giving you this, Aubrey. He stood up there and he said in front of a lot of people, we were in the studio. And I said something to him and walked out the studio. He said, yo, I'm gonna take off and pick them up and pimp them out to my nigga. He said, I'm gonna drug them out. I'm gonna get them all on drugs. And I'm gonna pimp their out to my nigga. I was like, give somebody kids. And walked out. And there's somebody that heard me. It's somebody that heard me. I mean, well, it's not only somebody that heard me, it's somebody that I know who was in the studio at the time that happened, and I still talk to him today. And we were just talking about that the other day. He done moved back to Indiana. I don't know why. I'm gonna give you that one. He said he was gonna put them all out and pimp them out.
These allegations appear to have been spread across other platforms, as many of the individuals featured in the Fall of Diddy documentary also made appearances in the making of a Bad Boy on Peacock.